I came to Knox in '84, and like many people, I spent my junior year abroad in 1987. I was in Barcelona, Spain. And that's when I came out politically. And then coming back to the Knox campus and being one of the very few people who was out on campus, we organized the first gay Pride Week on Knox, and then the first Denim Day. And the concept behind Denim Day was fairly straightforward. It was take something like blue jeans and make people, staff and faculty alike, and students think, when you get dressed that morning, what are you saying about what you wear? It was surprising to me how polarizing Denim Day was. There's a group of wonderful, supportive people who went out of their way to wear denim. There's one faculty member who was, I don't know how pregnant she was, but she was 7 months pregnant, and said, I can't fit in my jeans any longer, so she went out and bought bib overalls so that she could wear denim. And then there was also a group of individual students who all wore three-piece suits that day to make a very clear point that did not support gay rights. At the time, the gay group on campus now is called Common Ground, but at the time it was HUBS, which stood for Helping Understand Gay Students. And it was largely a group of people who met privately. And kind of clandestinely, because the culture wasn't really welcoming and supportive of people coming out. So it was working both with gays, lesbian students, both on campus and off campus, as well as gay faculty members, but then working closely with other alliances like ABLE. ABLE's been with Knox for 50 years, and Common Ground's approaching its 30-year anniversary. It's really looking at the synergies between the struggle for equal rights for the African American students on campus, as it was for focusing for the gay students on campus as well. When Magnet opened in 2003, and the concept was really based on, traditionally public health models were hidden and out of the way places that you had to go to but you didn't want to go to. And we were really trying to talk about how our relationship as gay men around HIV had really evolved. So the idea that it was an integrated service center meant that we did things like HIV testing, gonorrhea, chlamydia, and syphilis, but it was also a community center. So we had art openings, we had a book club, we had monthly game nights. And the idea was to really create a health and community center, so that to take it out of the dark and literally put it as a retail storefront in Castro was that it become a destination for people who wanted to go. So that health was not simply the presence or absence of disease, but really the total health of the individual. The two biggest challenges were that the prevailing wisdom was that all retail spaces in Castro should be dedicated to retail spaces. So taking a retail storefront and making it a nonprofit proved its own set of challenges. Other merchants didn't want a nonprofit in the neighborhood. There were concerns that were going to cause more homeless to come into the neighborhood, or that somehow it would make the neighborhood less valuable. The other obstacle was traditional public health wisdom said that HIV testing and STD testing were things that people were not going to seek out, much less so if they were in the middle of the community, so that people who would show up would be the word well, and not some individuals who really needed the services. So from a public health perspective, they said people aren't going to show up, and you won't be effective at finding disease because there's too much stigma with HIV testing, so that people won't show up. Within the first 6 months, we knew it was taking off. Initially, we thought we'd see 1,000 people a year, and by the time I left, we were seeing about 10,000 people a year. But quickly, it reached a point where it was beyond capacity. People would show up at the beginning of the morning, and line up for services, and within the first 6 months, we'd book out for services. So then it was about trying to find more money to expand the hours of operation, expand staff, and eventually expand to 6 days a week. And even now, I was just walking by the new center last weekend in the Castro, and there was still a line of people waiting at the door when they opened. It was a really wonderful coincidence that Magnet was expanded to other countries. I think now it's been replicated in 6 other countries. I've worked mostly with people online and over the phone and through social media around the model that we developed. Because the model was to identify the public health need and the community with which you were going to work, but then really figure out how it was going to work in your community. Our retail storefront works in the Castro, but it may not work elsewhere. So when I was working with the folks in Peru who first opened the similar model, I'm like, a retail storefront wasn't going to work. There was too much stigma in Peru for gay men. So I'm like, well, what's the gay neighborhood? I don't know it in Lima, but you do. So find someplace nearby and find a location that people want to go to. So it's helping them take the basic model and figure out how it would be translated there. And most recently in India, where it's replicated, the concept of gay is really still a Western tradition, a Western concept. So it's not so much a gay men's health center, but it's for MSM and transgender women. So it's really looking at what the cultural norms are and how those vary from different places, so that you can create a model that's really going to be unique in the area and the community it's trying to serve. My time at Knox really gave me the opportunity to grow into who I was going to become as an adult and understand that my education was certainly, of course, in the classrooms, but it was also about being out on my own in the world and finding my sense of identity, and then being true to that, using the privilege I have to speak up for other populations and underrepresented groups. So find out who you are, find out your moral compass, and speak up for others when there's need.